3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Welcome to ASD Market Week's YouTube series, Retail Revelations Inside the Deal. This is your all-access pass to the world of buying and selling in the retail space. We're getting candid and having real conversations on what it takes to get the deal done. This is Retail Revelations Inside the Deal. Hello and welcome to Retail Revelations Inside the Deal. My name is Stephanie Beringhele, and joining us today we have the Senior Sales Manager over at ASB. Please welcome Chris Follina.
How you guys doing? Thanks for having me. It's such an honor to be talking with you today.
So, true confession, I think that every parent in America should have this conversation because we have little children and they love snacks. They love every kind of snack that's in the market. They're always hungry and they're beggars. So I'm really curious to see your position, your company, and how that beautiful snack world comes together within the retail space.
It's interesting. My wife, she's a nanny and she watches kids, and Five Below is a big one that they always go to, right? And they are always asking, "Hey, Chris, can you get me some freeze-dried candy, or like, do you have this pickled, or what about this, or XYZ?" And I'm like, I guess I can go down to our sample room and get it for them, right?
You're the treat man.
Yeah, that's what I like to call professional snack and candy man. Like, if you need some snacks, just let me know.
Well, so you didn't start here. You have a path. We all have paths.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about the company. I know it's an acronym, so you're going to tell us what it really stands for, as
Yep.
well as how you came to be there and what it is that you do as a senior sales manager.
So the owner, Gary Davis, he started this back in 1985. Him and his father had some grocery stores. And he ended up actually getting into the brokerage world because he saw the brokers, the manufacturer rep, going from place to place and just traveling and talking to people, and just he loves people. He's awesome. He has a heart of gold for people, and that's one of the reasons why the company's been around for 40 plus years. And it is a family business. I'll touch on that. It's awesome. It's been really cool to learn from his daughter Vanessa, who runs the specialty channel, and then Brandon, who also runs our discount value channel as well. So there's kind of a lot of family in there, and so a lot of relationships, and a lot of collaboration. So it's pretty cool to see how that from then has kind of turned into where now, where we've had our best year as of yet, and we still have two more months to go in the year. So it's really cool what we've done here.
And tell me a little bit, so family business, right? So how is it working in that kind of atmosphere where you've got the owner, his children, now they've incorporated you? Do you feel like you're part of the family?
I do feel like I'm part of the family. I get treated very well. I will say, like, this is usually not my attire. I do have shorts on, and I usually have a hat on and everything. So that's kind of the atmosphere. It's really cool that we can be able to get to work in an atmosphere like that people trust us to get the work done. So it's been an awesome experience.
So 40 years, a lot has happened between the world, right? So what do you contribute to the success of the company, and how are you guys consistently adjusting to fit today's current standards within this specific world?
Relationships are a key into this business, no matter if it was 40 years ago all the way to today. No matter if we're talking through a camera or not, relationships have really driven the success of our business. To be able to ask those questions that we need to ask our retailers or manufacturers, hey, what's going to work, or hey, this is working. We actually come up with different plans and collaborate. We understand the market, and I would say we're very specific to each customer. We're not going to say, hey, this is going to work for this whole channel, this is going to work for this, because I mean, buyers want different things, they have different customers. The distribution channel may not always work out, or hey, there's private label involved, or hey, I got a closeout, do you want to try this, right?
Yeah.
So there's that's kind of been a mix of everything that we've been able to see success in there. And I would also note, we're not going to be here for the short term. We want to be able to set up our vendors for success, and not just, transparency is a big, big, big thing too. I think it doesn't get I forget the word I'm looking for, but transparency is very key here,
Mhm.
because you're dealing with people's actual money and their business. Working from big brands all the way to small brands, and you don't want to really give those small brands the back seat. So transparency, I would say relationships, transparency, and I don't know. There's I would say a little bit of luck too, probably in there.
I don't know about this luck thing because I was looking to see who some of your clients are. And I mean, you guys have heavy hitters. You have Tractor Supply, you've got Burlington, you've got Lowe's. So, what I like about what you're saying about the transparency and how you have to change, I mean, you've got technology, which is so great. It
Yeah,
gives you that extra level of outreach. You've got AI now that's playing into the mix. You've
yeah,
got these trade shows that you can actually then incorporate it, set those appointments, and have a face to face in a safe and fun environment. So,
yeah.
what's kind of your strategy being a sales manager and a leader? How do you kind of lead your team to say, here's how we're going to continue moving forward and pick up new accounts, which is so crucial for the overall success and longevity of this company?
We tend to still go in person. I mean, in person, there's nothing. It's funny. My wife's asked, "Why do you got to go in person? Can't you just
Yeah.
do this meeting in person?" And it's hard to, explain that. Um, but it's like you get so much more productive time in that, and you get the side conversations, right? And I think it depends on one, your schedule, the importance of the meeting. Hey, if it's a check-in meeting, you might want to send an email or just like a touch base meeting. But if you're going and hey, planning out that next year or that next event, it being in person, there's something so different about it
Yeah.
that makes a huge difference.
So I know we're trying to get you over here at ASD Market Week, your team, because we have a very diverse
Hmm.
clientele. And there's people that come over all over the US, whether they're independents or they're larger corporations. So when you look and you assess a new trade show that's not currently in your roster, what's most important for you to say, I need these check marks to hit? Otherwise, it's very scary for me to say to upper management, I want the money to invest in my team, my time away from the office to now be on this show floor to try to generate leads where we're new.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I'll say it's going back to relationships. Utilizing like the different channels that we know that work, and one kind of taking a bigger picture. Look at the economy too. So
Yeah.
one being okay. So candy and snacks, and I would say alcohol are gonna be around when it's a good economy.
Yeah.
It's gonna be around in a bad economy, right? Wherever people find their value, that's what they're going to spend their money. Looking at the big picture, so one being that we got into about a year ago was pet.
Okay.
We've
Huge, huge category.
and we've got some big players, that are in that pet space. Do you guys have pets?
So we had one that tragically passed away not too long ago. And now we're at
Oh,
that weird spot where you're like, we know we need a new one because the kids want one, but we're still
yeah,
mourning. So probably in another year. But to your point, when we did have our fur baby, it didn't matter. It was you need a new toy every week and these cookies and this and that. We spoiled him rotten because that cute face, he didn't talk
yeah,
back to us. Our kids talk back. Dog,
right.
no, best friend.
Right. Like, all right, come on, we're gonna go sleep in a bed. Yep, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we saw like there was a lot of people that have pets, right? And there's data that proves what the pet category is doing. And so another coworker, David, and we went out to Vegas, and we had no idea what we were doing. Not we were just learning, and ultimately there was some good news from that. I can't dive into the full details of it, but there was some really good news, and we were able to at least find one
Yeah.
vendor that we can work with. And for us, that's a win. Because that, ultimately you have to look at, okay, the expenses of flights going
Yep.
out to Vegas, right? Okay, hey, maybe 2, 3 nights in a hotel, depending on how long the show is. And so kind of that's how we look at it in a whole, like, okay, is this worth it something,
Yep.
or is the past like, going out to different trade shows of, hey, what have we done in the past?
I love that. It's so funny because there's so many options that are out in the market, and I think that doing your due diligence and seeing what are most appropriate. And for me, I always suggest and I always recommend when I talk to clients of you have your core market that you should consistently be at. You have to be represented amongst your competitors and your peers and in front of your core clients,
Yes.
right? So that's one element. The other element is curiosity and exploratory and trying to see who you can
Yeah.
pull in that you never thought was possible. And I think that what you said about pulling in pet product line and just trying that, it's so good for the business because
Yeah.
the market's constantly changing and sometimes there's a trend that's going upward and I think pet is here to stay. I don't
Yes.
think it's going to be going anywhere soon, just like I don't think snacks are going anywhere
No.
soon. And I totally agree on the alcohol part. So it positions your
Yep.
company really well.
So we're in a good space. We're in a good space.
So talk to
Um,
me about, private label comes up a lot with our community. It's the
hmm,
number one item I think that retailers say that they've got better control over, especially in a down market. And their thought
mhm.
process is that they can get an equally good product, but they then can have a higher margin on it and they can do more with it. So you guys have access to private label. Are you seeing that trend upward or what's your thoughts on that?
Private label is huge.
Yeah.
There's a few different heavy hitters that we work with. Not, we work in the specialty channel within that, in the farm and fleet space. We do that within the convenience channel. We do that within the grocery channel.
Mhm.
There's other opportunities within, you almost want to say, your discount value channel where you can have a control brand.
Yeah.
Depending, I always preface the retail it has to be a proven seller because everything is dead net.
Mhm.
They don't have markdowns, liabilities, no nothing, right? And so that's good, but you also have to make sure that, hey, is this commodity driven for that type of retailer? I would even see we've also been in the space in the drug world too as well. So
Yeah.
we've had extensive amount of private label opportunities and just understand, again, back to the market, right? Looking at the market, price is driving every consumer behavior right now more
Absolutely.
more than ever. I mean, hopefully, next year we might see some, a little bit of a price break. Who knows what's going to happen in the next month with the election, and how that will affect, pricing. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that. Maybe it's a theory. I don't know. I hope so, so I could go spend some more money to go do
Yeah.
something else. Like I don't want to be strapped and sitting in my house all the time, right? So I think a lot of people are starting to feel that. And so the good news about that, when, back to the feeling part of being in a down economy, people are still going to go back to the snacks in the category.
Yeah.
And another trend is like when people really get behind a retailer, they love that retailer's brand. Love. So
Kirkland, that's all I have to say. Costco, I am all about it. We go in there like, woo, whatever they have, I'll try it because I feel
yeah,
like it's tried and true.
yes,
And they do an honest work of saying, is this the right product for our consumer? And I
yep.
love it. I trust them full heartedly with it, which is great. A question for me too is what is trending in the snack world? What are you seeing that's just flying off the market? Because I'm really concerned with some of the snacks that I give my kids just because of all this awareness with there's some stuff going on in the market of maybe that's not the best food for them,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So are you noticing that retailers are paying more attention to the type of snack that's going into their storefront? Or do you think that a good snack that's salty or sugary is going to go a long way no matter what, and we're just going to be consistent with that?
So depends on the channel.
Hmm.
Right. I would almost say, for like a grocery channel, right? You have like, Kroger's in our backyard. And they have, I think two or three different private label brands, and
Hmm.
where they look at that more in depth. Um, so it depends on the channel, because then you go into a, farm and fleet, or maybe an auto or a hardware, and they're catering to a different demographic, different demographic of, let's say 20 to 40s, 25 to 45, demographic, versus maybe a five below that's got the tween demographic or target. Man, that's mom all day. So I would say it almost depends on each retailer, and who their demographic is. I think that's the best answer that I have. We still see snacks is hot right now. I would say a flavor that is really on fire is like a
Mm.
chamoy, chili lime, or like a tahine, for
Okay.
instance. You'll start, that spicy flavor that's really out there, is on target in the
The
snack.
spice of life right there. That's what it is. I love
Yeah.
spicy things. We have this cute little show. It's called Cocina Sabrosa. And it was built specifically on catering to a market of cultural good foods. And that's trending within the C-store world and the local markets and all that kind of stuff. So I think you're dead on with that trend. That's a great one.
The other on top of that, is the Hispanic candy.
Hmm.
It's not going to take it by storm, but maybe in the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to start to see some more Hispanic candy out there. I don't know the data, but I know that there's more Hispanic minorities coming throughout. And depending on, like, if you're in Florida,
Yeah.
California, for example,
Oh yeah.
or, and Texas, so there's a large population of that. And so now you're going to start to see some more retailers offer those, sets there. So yeah, it's starting to take off a little by little. But yeah.
So when you're selling to these retailers, and I always say, you gotta try it, right? Like you have to put some little nugget in your store because you have to see how your consumers are going to A, react to it, and then B, respond, and then are they going to become a routine buyer to the point that that test item now becomes no, this needs to be coming through on the regular. So
Mhm.
let's say you're working with a brand new retailer and they're like,
Okay.
oh, we want to get into the snack world. This is our customer base, advise us, right? So what does that test order look like for them to start to see how their consumer is going to respond? How do you guide them?
So data,
Okay.
um, data. I would say that, and I don't think, some people, I think data is king. I don't believe that
Hmm.
personally. I think data, it just helps you to make a better decision, because based on their customer. So, but just kind of give them, hey, here's this. Can we do an X test? And within that, maybe there's some parameters. Hey, at a 80% cost, whatever the retailer has, like their test, like what does a good test look like, right?
Yeah.
Because something for a grocery store might look way different than a farm and fleet hardware store.
Hmm.
So I would say that's how we kind of guide them. Not hey, or actually a better option is closeouts.
Hmm.
So closeouts, and people, I think the myth of closeouts, or this like wrong perspective of closeouts, people think, oh man, short dated goods. That's not always the case, right? Hey,
Yeah.
I got an extra run of film, fresh goods. Hey, how about you try, 3, 4 thousand units? Send out to your best stores. Let's see how this works.
Well, you know that you're talking to the queen of closeouts because that's all we do over at our side. We love that world. And I think you just nailed it when you said the misconception is that people think that there's something wrong with it
Yeah,
or there's an expiration date that's
yeah,
coming through. And that's not always true. Some of the best product can be found simply because somebody can no longer house it anymore and they need it to go to some other place so that it can be
yeah.
sold. And that's a great opportunity. And that's what we specialize at ASD. So I'm so glad that you You
Yes,
highlighted that.
we've done that. We've done reacclimation, helping with different companies, get out of distributors, for
Yeah.
example, and really we've seen this, we've been able to take part of this because, there's a retailer in our backyard in Columbus. It starts with a B.
Uh,
We've been able to really, just capitalize on that. And then, we've been able to actually start with smaller brands and take them and grow them in that way too as well. So we've been able to help them generate a closeout, let's say, of fresh dated goods,
mhm.
and to be able to say, hey, can we test this?
Yeah. So that leads me to sales. You look at some salespeople's face and they are just down at the dumps. They're like, oh, life is really hard right now, but there's always opportunity. I always say that. I go where some don't see the silver lining or the light, there is so much opportunity. And I think that when you consult your clientele and you make sure that they are set up for success,
Yeah.
it goes a long way. So you obviously oversee a team, and for all the other salespeople that are just leaving college where they were secured and feeling like life is amazing, and now they're entering the workforce and going, what did I do? What
Yeah.
advice do you have that the new salesperson in this day and age, what are those tips and tricks look like?
See, that's pick up the phone. That would be one. Brandon, he's our SVP here at the company. He came from the mortgage side of the business, and
Mm,
that was a huge dial and call, sector, industry. And something he taught me. He said, $10,000 is waiting for you. And truthfully, I was scared. I was like, I'm like, I don't know why, but it was just like I was scared to just pick up the phone, but he said, pick up the phone, man, and just start to dial and talk, and build those relationships with the manufacturers, and build the relationships. I think that's been, there's a rhyme, there's a place for texting, there's a place for emailing, but like sometimes a phone call goes a long, like, instead, I mean, I'm sure like, instead of having chains of email, like, hey, I get this done in 3 minutes. Okay, I don't have to bother you ever again, like for a couple of days. So another tip would be, there's a couple of good books. Atomic Habits is one good book that, you have to figure out your own system, your own habits,
mhm.
to be able to attack each and every day. For me, and being in where I'm at, there's not, I wouldn't say, as much structure, so that gives me a lot of freedom, right? Which is good, but also could be on the spectrum. Okay, hey, how do I figure this out?
Yeah.
And so one of those things, was, I was taught this. It's called the win the day strategy. How do you define what a win is for you in that day, right? So you go back, you start with your five important habits that you want to actually complete each and every day. And that looks different for everyone in their season, right? My season a little bit different, what I need to accomplish and what my priorities are, right? So those, you take those five habits, whatever those habits may be. Hey, that's sending out emails to your clients. That's, maybe it's a store check. It's a, um, looking over data.
Yeah.
Completing an Excel. It's something that works for you and your business, right? You do those every single day, right? Okay, hey, now you start to win a week. Right. All right. You put now, okay, now you do it at more days. Okay, now you got 2 weeks. Those 2 weeks turn into a quarter, and then that quarter then turns into this year. So now you've taken that one single day, that focus, and you've
Mhm.
won your year. So something like that has worked awesome, has done that, has led to a lot of things, and that's besides Jesus, who's been a lot of the results that I've had in my life. Um, you know, that has been a very key part in this. So
I think you said the most interesting thing. And I know so many people who are afraid of phones. They're afraid to call. And I don't know if it's a generational thing because people just, with COVID, I don't know what the meaning is, but when you write something out, it can be interpreted in so many different levels. The person who's reading it based on their day, they could think you're yelling at them. They could think you're rude. They could think all kinds of things, right? Because they're personalizing that
Yeah.
verbiage, and
Yep.
they're saying, how do I feel? And you pick up that phone, hey, I'm so and so. It's just, oh, okay, you seem excited. I want to be excited. What do you have
Right.
to talk about, right? And it's something that any sales team that's out there, and if there's an incoming call, approach it with, this might be a great call today. This might be the
Yeah.
best call that I've ever
Yes.
received today. And
Yes.
don't fling that phone down. Don't hang up on people. Like, I just encourage, you never know what you're going to get. But the minute that you shut down, you lose out on any potential opportunity that could have been out there just because you
Yes.
weren't open.
Right. Yeah. I think the key word there is, are you open?
Yeah.
Because you can answer that phone and you're like, "Oh, I'm so busy doing XYZ here that I forget what's in front of me."
100%. And it's interesting because when you go to major events, major trade shows,
Yeah.
you're there to talk. You're there to
Yep.
go into booths and say hello. You're there to have dinner. And so by the time that you're done during that day, you're so exhausted. So I think that during your random Monday through Friday, if you're not exhausted because you've been outputting your energy to connect with people at some kind of level like that, maybe you're not putting in 100%, and maybe there's a little bit of room for you to do a little extra to push those sales and connections and build those relationships
Yes.
that you were talking about.
And on top of that, I'll add one thing.
Uh-huh.
Something that I forgot is, when you're done with the phone call, make sure you send a follow-up email.
Yeah. Follow up.
Follow up. I mean, because otherwise, oh, what did we say on the phone?
So good. Well, we're gonna wrap it up. I think that the last thing that I want to ask you is, you kind of given like atomic habits, but what about just life in general? What is some advice? We're heading into 2025. I think that people are anxious and nervous right now. There's a lot going on in the world. So
Yeah.
how do you encourage people to stay positive, to keep that forward thinking, and just be in their best space so that they can, enjoy life? What's that advice look like?
Oh man,
Going deep.
that's a little deep. Again, I guess, my foundation of my life is Jesus.
Uh-huh.
And so for me, that's kind of my wife and I. That's what we focus on. I wake up every day, pray, or I'm in the Word. And outside of that is just being kind.
Goes a long way.
And for me, I had to go through this today. Like, my attitude was just off a little bit, and it's just recognizing and taking responsibility, because it's not, can't blame everyone. Usually
Mhm.
if you're blaming everyone, you got to look at yourself. But also the fact, don't take life so hard, just have some
Right?
fun, just like lighten up a little bit. And just have fun. I mean, that's all I'm about. It's funny, all my coworkers, I have a loud laugh. You haven't gotten to experience it yet, but like, my laugh is a little contagious, to where they're like, just be a light for people. That's the biggest thing, because everyone's got something going on, but at the end of the day, we're all human. Things happen, and we can just be better together.
Mhm. So I got to work on my jokes. That's what you're telling me. Next time that you and I talk, I'm gonna be ready for you. I'm gonna put some
Do
Dave
it.
Chappelle on you or something like that.
You do some like crowd work, like Andrew Schultz, or one of the other comedians out there. So
So good. Well, I appreciate the time today. We are wishing your company so much success. Hopefully there's another 40, 50 years to go, but thanks for joining us. We want you to be a part of the show. So let us know who you want to see and what stories you want to hear. Leave us a comment and make sure you like and subscribe.